everybody. Bet you weren't expecting me. Let's get some music going. What do you think? Lo-fi, ambient, future, chill. Let's get some chill going. Yeah, this works. There's not enough power in this. This is for practically screaming it. Hello, viewer. How are you? Destroy the hospital. I'm being a total goof tonight, and that is okay. I needed time to kind of recharge my batteries. So you haven't seen me on stream lately because I have been doing that. And going through a lot of personal issues. But I'm making my way through. Hey! ba, 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 ba. More like that. Not that leg, just ever so slightly. Hey, it's a person. It's a guy.
I made it. I'm like
There's
downstairs prepping to make the coffee, hanging out, and I'm like, wow, the stove clock is so wrong. It says it's 10:03. Man, that's so. Wait a minute.
oh my god!
I'm like, wait a minute. I got issues.
Right here in River City.
Right here in River City. I got issues. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, but now that I have joined, I am going to go finish making coffee and grab me some tea, and I'll be right back. Because, I was, down there, I'll make coffee real quick. I'll grab some tea real quick. It'd be fun. And, wow, I think I'm late. Oh, God. Ooh, but I can't.
Oh, no.
So, did I tell you that I won the vaccine bingo?
No.
I got my booster today, and so because it's 2 weeks to NDK, or roughly 2 weeks to NDK, so I wanted to make sure before I got in there I had the booster, and I got my booster, and it's a Moderna booster, and I'm like, yay! And then I looked, and I had Johnson & Johnson was my first, Pfizer was my second, and Moderna is my third. So now I have had all three of them. So I won the bingo.
And with your powers combined.
Right? That's what I'm like, yeah! Now I want superpowers. Or I'll win the Triple Crown. One of the two. Mint juleps are good. I like mint juleps.
There you go.
I dig mint juleps, man. I could totally get stupid hammered on mint juleps. I could tell. Those are damn good. So, okay, I'll be right back. Now I'm going to have a southern accent because we're talking about Kentucky Derby.
And that is Guy, ladies and gentlemen. does have a belt. Okay, so then a little easier.
All right. Now I have coffee made, tea made, tea made.
So how are you doing?
I'm actually not feeling any ill effects from this booster. So usually the last couple ones made me, cranky and drowsy for a day. These seem to be okay. Or this one seems to be okay. Knock on wood. I mean, we still have...
It's still early.
Yeah, still early. Anything could happen. I may or may not be on the show tomorrow morning. We'll have to find out.
Yeah.
If I'm not on this show, you know what happened. Right? Oh, zonk. Gone.
So how have you been?
I've been good. We went to drawing club today, and I sat down, put headphones on, and sat there and started writing prose. I have been thinking a lot about this, and I think one of the things I'm going to start doing is light novel side stories. I've been thinking about this for a while, obviously, because I know we've talked about it. You and I have talked about this, but I realized today that one of the things I could do with prose is make it so that I could do those uncomfortable scenes that I can't draw. Right? For example, today's scene that I wrote was between Chang and Alex in a sauna. Right?
Okay.
Anytime we involve Alex, she's 14, so if I draw her naked, everybody's going to just melt down and explode. So we all know that, it becomes, claims of whatever, even if nothing bad ever happens to Alex. If she never engages in sex of any sort, it's still going to be horrible. But I've had this scene in my head where Alex talks about the scar on Chang's body, right? but also the fact that Chang has no underarm hair or leg hair, which Alex secretly finds sort of envious. Right?
Right.
So, this has been a long discussion. The truth is, the reason why nobody has underarm hair or leg hair but has pubic hair is because I am sadly a child of the 80s and there's nothing I can do about it. Everything looks wrong to me in one way or another. So that's my one concession. I've been really pushing myself out of my comfort zone for everything else. That's my one concession. However, I made it universal. Neither men nor women have leg hair or underarm hair. In fact, men don't have body hair at all. So pretty much body hair, with the exception of pubic hair and facial hair and head hair, is now gone. So, but that happened a long, long time ago in this like Renaissance. And so I had this story, I wrote it out, where I was like, there was this Renaissance where we edited everything. We got rid of multiple sclerosis. We got rid of, Legionnaire's disease. We got rid of everything. And then we hardened our DNA so we could handle cosmic radiation. And then she gets kind of dark and she goes, and people kind of took it a little too far, in some places. Not in the Unity, but in other places. And that's when Alex is like, oh, what do you mean? And that's when Chang points to the scar. And then Alex took it the wrong way. And I thought this was kind of cool listening to the two characters talk. Alex thought it was Nazis, right? She's like, you had Nazis even now? And she's like, no, not that. I was genetically engineered. And then she was like, engineered? And yeah, to be a concubine, effectively. And then that's when Alex goes, you look really young. Oh, like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's that moment.
Yeah, there's that moment. And Alex gets it. And then she goes, so I guess we didn't evolve that much after all. And that's when Chang goes, look, people are good. Fear is bad. Fear makes people do dumb crap. Fear of losing things. Fear of losing their comfort zone. Fear of all kinds of stuff. We fight the fear. We don't fight the fear. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, Chang. Good job, dude. But then at the end, the last line in the scene, though, is like, Alex is like, so, how about periods? Did you guys erase periods for a chance? Because I'd be on board with that. I was like, well, that's the way to end that one. I'm not going to even have Chang answer it. I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm like, man, that's fun. But of course, part of it is that there's two guys in the sauna with them. And the two guys, just like when Alex walked into the sauna, they just nodded at her and, smiled, waved, said hi, and then got back to their discussion and didn't even pay attention to her. And she goes through this entire scene of she's annoyed that they didn't pay attention to her, and then grateful that they didn't pay attention to her, and then annoyed because they didn't pay, you know what I mean? And she's like,
yeah.
I hate being a teenager. She's like, crash of teenager. And then Chang comes over and gives her a little bulb of tea. And she's like, the tea has a mind-altering drug in it that kind of helps you like relax a little bit and gets rid of the anxiety. And Alex is like, I'm 14. You can't give me drugs. And she's like, you're 421. But that's beside the point. And then Chang goes, we don't restrict mind-altering substances anymore. We banned not going to a therapist. And I was like, well, that's a statement. It's not the drugs. We didn't get rid of the drugs. We got rid of restricting you from going to a therapist.
Interesting.
So it's like a thing. Like all of these statements that kind of came out in this like 3 pages of prose. It was just a 3-page thing. So I'm going to write the scenes. I'm going to draw like an establishing shot, because in the very beginning, Alex is up to like here, up to her chin in the water, right? Because she's embarrassed. So there's no problem with that. She loosens up by the end of the story, but I don't need to draw those panels, right? So I just do the establishing panel, and then I'll draw one panel of Chang showing the scar on her arm, which will have Chang's boobs, but won't have Alex's boobs, so it won't be a problem. And that should make it okay.
Or
You know
just
what I
have
mean?
Alex in a towel. That'll work too.
Alex isn't in. That's the whole point. And none of them are in towels. They're all in the water, and that's part of why she's so embarrassed. So I can't write that. I can't draw it. Because the whole point is, why would we give you a towel? Especially to wear in the water. That's ridiculous. You know?
Yeah.
That would make no sense in the world of Bellatrix. So, but yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, it was just cool. I enjoyed what I wrote. It was good. I got somewhere.
Okay, get it back.
Alright, I need to finish that because somebody had said something. Dear classroom instructors. So, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a few whiles.
Partially working out stuff, partially healing. And
you had a rough time. I don't know what it was, and I don't frankly need to know, but I know you were hurting, and I didn't like that part. So I'm glad you're doing better.
I was hurting physically and mentally.
Ooh, hurting physically is one thing, though. I am somewhat curious about hurting physically.
I had all of my long COVID come back.
Oh. You were slurring the last time. Yeah. You aren't slurring now, which is great.
Yeah.
You were slurring, and I was getting worried about you because you only slur when that long COVID comes in.
As you can see, I have problems. Normally, I could touch without any issue, but I'm having issue touching. I was having issue walking. I was having issue breathing. Yeah, it was just bad.
Man. So long COVID came back, and that was brutal. Well, man. So today I got my COVID booster, and I had one of my buddies PMing me and saying, I hope you don't die from that COVID booster, because he really is deep into that. And I replied and said, look, I have about 500 friends total, give or take, all over the place, right? Of them, I have lost 4 to COVID. I've got 6 that are suffering from long COVID, and not one has died from the frickin' vaccine. I'm like, you've got to stop. Let up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And all of the people who had COVID will tell you, get the get the vaccine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So I was dealing with that. I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues from when Dad passed.
Right.
That
That
was a
hits in
struggle.
weird waves, and it just won't let up. And it's so brutal. I'm so sorry, man.
And so the past few weeks haven't been good. And then suddenly things started to become easier. It became easier to work on things. I mean, it's been a brutally hot summer.
Yeah, you're telling me.
And I also, a couple of days ago, I went into this streamer's chat, and the streamer didn't know I was there. And one of my friends requested some art done of one of the characters in this comic. And the streamer started going, "Oh man, I need to get back into that comic because that comic is so damn good. And the artist is just amazing." And they had no idea I was in chat.
And they were talking about you?
Yes.
Nice. I think that's just awesome. That's cool.
And it was kind of that moment of the world telling me, keep going.
Keep going, man.
You're on the right track. Keep moving. And it felt so good to hear.
Right.
And it didn't feel like
it wasn't forced. Can I help you, George? You want switches? Is this switches? Because I want you. Yeah, because it's hard. I can sit here all day long and say, you have an awesome comic, but it's really easy for you to say, he's just saying that because he's my buddy.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. I know, because I've had that problem with you guys. You guys are all like, you got to keep going with this comic. And I'm like, you're just saying that because that's our job. We're supposed to be encouraging each other. We're supposed to be pushing each other, So it's so easy. I understand. And it's nice whenever it's in a vacuum.
And then when it happens and it's not that, it's like, oh wow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's good. 1:15.
Yeah, it also hasn't helped that it seems like the world's out to destroy itself right now.
Yeah. I've actually been trying to deconstruct that. And I kind of understand. I think I know what's going on in a lot of ways. I'm having a lot of interesting discussions with people about Star Trek being woke and yada, yada, yada. And I'm realizing what they're really saying and how it's working, sort of thing. And I'm starting to kind of get it. Woke has two different translations.
Oh?
There's a left translation and a right translation, and the right translation's ironic. And that's part of the problem. And that's kind of an interesting thing. So, like, realizing kind of in a microcosm how that's working, woke in the right sense is used ironically to mean we want to adjust the balance so much that we require 10 cast members for this show. So we will make sure that 9 of those 10 cast members are gay black men so that we can balance it out. So in other words, they're referring to an overbalance, like they feel like that people are overreacting, going too far. They don't have a problem with the idea of equality. They don't have a problem with it being equal. They have a problem with the fact that their perception is that it is like people are forcing more things in there just so that they can be balanced, and out of fear of being slammed for being not inclusive. And that's a different translation, and at least it's understandable. I don't agree, it's not right, it's not the correct translation, it's not what's really happening, and there is an ongoing problem with it because of course their argument is that Discovery is woke. Well, I went through and just did an analysis of the cast of Discovery. It pretty much is exactly the census data of the US population. It's 50% male, 50% female, about 60% minority, 40% white, 15 to 20% are LGBT. It pretty much is straight up what our culture is, like literally. And so it's not woke, but they perceive it as so because they've gotten so acclimated to all white casts that now when you actually represent what America is set up as, it looks like you're forcing it. So I kind of am now kind of getting what's going on in that instance. And of course, you get the people who really are legit racists. They really are legitly nasty, kind of pushing it. So, and they're forcing it. They're forcing people to agree with it. I also think the social media sphere is pushing things that way. So you're more likely, if you're on the right, to see Alex Jones, who really is a scumbag and really is a horrible person.
And really might be going to jail.
He really might be going to jail, and I really might be doing a little dance. I don't generally approve of, taking pleasure from another person's misfortune. However, there are exceptions.
Yeah.
So it's things like.
And I think there's a little bit of. They feel like their culture's under attack.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, it should be, because
Mhm.
they're clinging on to things that should die.
Right. Well, I was thinking about this. One of my buddies is freaking out because they have introduced a digital currency in Australia. He's Australian. And his whole thing is, see, you thought I was a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, what is, how is this, how did you read this way? And he's like, they're trying to take control of all of our money. And I'm like, look, here's the thing. If we follow the things that you feel comfortable with, we would literally be in the 50s handwriting checks and giving them to each other, and you would have to wait for me to mail you a check.
Yeah.
In Australia to pay you, which, by the way, would not be able to go by airplane and have to go by boat. You can't stay in the past, and you can't just blame every advance in society as a conspiracy. And really, I think that's the deal, because I think you're right. They feel like every change is an attack. We're not just changing, we're ruining. We're destroying. Because this was just a digital currency. You know, they're trying it out. Okay. I mean, we've had NFTs and Bitcoins and all that crap, so we've already kind of experimented with it. At least we're not complete idiots. At least now we kind of know what we're doing a little bit, you know?
Sort of.
Sort of.
And, like, I know an Australian, too. And she's completely embracing the digital currency because she's already having to work with digital currency with PayPal, because she has artists that she commissions artwork from all over the world.
Right. I mean,
so,
and part of it is that the political right is nationalism and the political left is globalism. So part of this is that, you know, I mean, that's by their fundamental function. Is the smaller the unit, the better in their mind's eye. Bigger units don't work as well in their heads. So I sort of see it, you know, if we're talking about, right, Donald? Me too. I'm like, this morning was really rough. I went for my walk with my buddy Alex and walked around the park, and I came back and I was sweating, and I was just standing here trying to work on my comic, and I was just sweating. And I even turned my AC unit so it was blowing directly on me, and I was sweating. It wasn't even really that hot yet outside. Man, something about today, extra muggy or extra ugly or extra hotty or whatever.
Something.
Why am I not working? What's my problem? Who are you? And why are you? And when are you? And pizza. Oh, pizza.
I can get behind that.
Right? Nothing wrong with pizza.
But yeah, it's just...
Anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of this weird thing. And, like, the really weird thing is, watch out. Okay, so you heard the thing with Trump that happened today. Or yesterday, rather.
Where they raided Mar-a-Lago?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now, suddenly, the right is going, well, we need to get rid of the FBI, and we need to get rid of this and defund. And I'm like...
You were all behind him when we were against
when they
him.
were going after Hillary, you guys were
all about that.
cheering them.
Okay.
And it's like, what happened? It's been kind of weird in that sense.
That's part of what I'm noticing. I've got close friends who are conservative. And that's the thing. This is why this is a big deal for me. I have close friends who are conservative. And I have watched them get weirder and weirder One of them is a really close friend whom I have known for literally 30 years. And in the last 5 or 10, he has gotten weirder and weirder. We had an argument about the electric cars. He's all up in arms about Biden's new transportation bill because it's going to force everybody to buy an electric car. And I said, Biden never said that. He said, yes, he did. And I went and looked it up, and Biden didn't. What Biden said was he wants to make it so that by, say, 2035 or something like that, 50% of all cars manufactured are electric. And I was like, that's a different story. You can still have a gas car. It's not going to be a problem. And he said, well, and I said, and also the infrastructure now means this says that the infrastructure is going to change so that we all will be able to, there will be more chargers everywhere. And I'm like, that's great. And he goes, well, yeah, but I can't use those chargers. And I'm like, but I can. And he goes, yeah, but I can't. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this isn't a you land. This is an us land. And he was really offended because the bill didn't benefit him directly. Donald, if you're really sold on that, okay. However, I will tell you right now, hybrids are actually the worst of all worlds. Either stick with gas cars or go electric. The hybrids really, they're the worst of everything. They have crappy electric engines, the worst, smallest crappy electric engines, and the smallest gas engines. So they're the worst of both worlds. I've had an electric car now for 7 years. We've never run it out of power, ever. It's never abandoned us anywhere. So
actually, we're getting really good gas mileage with our electric. It's not an electric, it's a hybrid.
Right.
It's Prius, but it is saving our ass so much right now. Like,
so you're not the first person to bring up hydro cars that run on water. And I'm wondering whether this is people were asleep in science class, but it takes more energy to separate water into hydrogen and oxygen than the energy you get out of it by burning it. I mean, that's a mathematical formula about this long in thermodynamics. It's kind of like trying to make a perpetual motion machine. You can't. You just can't. So I keep hearing about hydro cars, but I'm not. And I keep hearing people who invented an engine, and I'm like, okay, I don't doubt that you've got an engine that runs on hydrogen and oxygen, but the amount of electricity it takes to separate. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Let me just make up numbers. Let's say you get 10 joules. That joules is a value of electricity, or as a value of energy. You get 10 joules from exploding hydrogen and oxygen. It takes 15 joules of electricity to separate the hydrogen and oxygen. So no matter what, it costs more energy to separate the water into hydrogen and oxygen than it does to run it together and explode it and burn it to make an engine. And there's no technology that changes that. It takes 15 joules of energy to separate the two atoms. That's just the way it goes. And then it only generates 10 joules. But I'm sure there have been all kinds of wonderful alternate energies. But in the end, the only thing that's really stopped electric cars has been the batteries. And the batteries are getting better. My wife left me a beef stick, so I'm going to eat it. Because I like beef sticks. I mean,
I think
Electrolysis.
that was a I think that was a Cheech and Chong plot there,
I was going to say,
Tom.
I don't doubt that they found all kinds of creative ways. I mean, technically, the most ideal thing is fusion. However, not really sure I want to drive a fusion car right now, because nobody's really gotten fusion perfected yet. But I'm not arguing with people. I'm just saying I've heard many people talk about hydrogen cars. And hydrogen cars are one thing where you pull the hydrogen out of the atmosphere. But that's also a depleting resource, because you're just going to ultimately run out of hydrogen at some point. And it is phenomenally explosive, which we call the Challenger-Hindenburg effect. Hydrogen is not something you want to screw around with. And so we take cars that just catch fire to cars that literally blow themselves into little teeny pieces. So there you go. I'm in. Rubber band cars for the win. Or just good shoes, Donald. You just wear good shoes and you do your, and then you have to make the noise though, that as you take off. That's the most important piece of it. Isn't that bad? For as beef sticks go. I also feel like people play up marijuana because it was disproportionately banned in society. Like it wasn't that bad for us, and then it became a Schedule 1 drug just so that people could do stuff.
Yeah, literally said this needs to be tested more, and that's why they banned it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of stayed banned
Mm-hmm.
because it was easier.
And I think that one of the things that happened was that it became mythical.
Well, it also didn't help that um, Dare, the mothers. Sorry, Mad. It was Mothers Against Drugs, and the
And
'80s really started to kick in.
yeah, but I think it became mythical that because I mean, marijuana, cures cancer and solves warts and it's better rope than rope. It's better houses than houses. It's better, And I think
Yeah.
what happened was it was unfair how it got banned. And I think people felt like it was unfair. And a lot of people bemoaned it. Hey, I was making a good product that did not involve people getting high, and then they banned it and I couldn't make the product anymore. Well, what product were you making? Well, I was making better rope than rope. And so nobody actually got to test it. They just heard that was the deal. And so, I think a lot of times we have these things where marijuana solved everything. And I'm not sure how much of it's real. I mean, it might all be real. I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be totally real. Marijuana could be the panacea for every possible problem that ever existed. However, I doubt it. So. Yeah, anti-hippie stuff, all kinds of stuff. It was brutal. I think that all really played into it. I don't know. I have a lot of theories. I try to restrict my theories to my story, which is my story. It's fun because Donald's saying if it cured cancer, they'd control it. And I'm like, well, maybe. I mean, they might. I I don't know. Kind of have family that works in uh, in the government, and so I always am like, well, maybe. I mean, they could, I guess. You're small and fuzzy and pesty. I have removed all of the things you could knock over out of here. Aren't you proud of me?
And
You know
that's
why?
when he found 6 more.
Right? Because you're George, and that's what you do as a George cat. This is your George cat life. This is your cat life. This is your life, meow. See? Nothing in there. Aren't you glad? Right. George the Destructor. We love you, though. I mean, you're weird, though. Just gonna say it now. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, he's just making us all hungry now. You know that, right?
So I've been hearing a lot that Prey is a really good movie.
Of course it is. Amber Midthunder's in it.
And I have not seen it yet. I want to, but I don't have Hulu.
Oh, we have Hulu, but I haven't seen it yet because I know it's probably full of jump scares. So I have to prep myself for it. But I want to see it so bad because I picked up Amber Midthunder in Legion, and she became one of my favorite characters of that entire show. She played a character who she was the alter ego of this guy who he could change into her and she could change into him, and she was the warrior and he was a scientist. And so between the two of them, it was kind of like she was like the hulking out version. So she, when he would hulk out, he'd turn into her and she could kick everybody's butt. But they would talk to each other in the sea. The other people couldn't see her until he changed. But
Yeah.
but they would still have these discussions, and she was like, I'm just going to go kill them. And he's like, no, you can't just go kill them. She's like, why can't I just go kill them? We could kill them and this would be over with. It's like, this is so cool. It's like, I love this character so much. It was such a great character, and I was like, oh man. So it's good to see her back in this, where she gets to go kick a predator butt. I'm okay with that too.
Yep.
I saw Thor last night. The new one. It was pretty good.
Oh.
I liked it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
We went to the
Part
Alamo.
Part of my problem is I am terrified of COVID.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And so it has legitimately screwed me up in that way.
Yeah, I cannot blame you one bit, my friend. You're not going to get a single complaint out of me.
And now we have monkeypox. Speaking of which, you can transmit monkeypox if someone has touched a surface and then you touch that same surface and it hasn't been sanitized.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
So when you do NDK, please, I strongly recommend you take sanitizer with you.
That works.
Hand sanitizer and wipes. And like, I went to a restaurant, this was like a week or so ago, and I saw a guy covered in bumps. And later when I looked at it, it was the monkeypox bumps, and he was just coated in them.
Yeah,
and he
it's
was
a pox.
standing there.
It acts just like all other poxes.
And he was standing there like everything was perfectly fine, and it's like, dude, you are gonna infect everybody in the world. So please be careful.
I will. There are some small good news about monkeypox. At least it's not horrifically fatal.
Yeah. But they're trying to make it sound like it's
nothing, and it isn't. I don't want any poxes. I don't even want chicken pox. Right? I mean, like...
Well, and they're also trying to make it sound like it's an STD, and it's not.
Right. Although, to be fair, that is a great way to transmit pox.
Yes, but it's not the only way.
It's not the only way. It does make me wonder, though, because I had gotten onto some thread somewhere, and I had, somebody had said, well, it's all right because monkeypox is only transmitted sexually. And I said, oh, good. So blame it on the gay men. how very 1980s of you. And then somebody else posted and said, no, here, and they gave me a link to a WHO site, which was saying that specifically. So it's the officials aren't helping either.
Yeah.
Yeah, Olivia neutron bomb. I'm so sad. My hands are sad. How much do I think I care about 1 millimeter?
Yeah, it also doesn't help that we have freaking polio kicking off again.
Yep. All the anti-vaxxers have successfully managed to bring polio back from the dead. That's nice.
Yeah.
People, stop. We killed these diseases and you're bringing them back because you fear the government, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's not like the government hasn't done weird things. I totally agree that the government's done weird things. I totally agree that the government's somewhat suspicious sometimes, too. However, somehow, this is managing to get things that we've gotten rid of come back.
Yeah, I don't want to live a Stephen King book.
Right?
And yet we still seem to be living like 4 Stephen King books all at once.
Right. It's like, I love how everybody was like, there's no way those Stephen King books could possibly come true. And now we're like, well, that's how Stephen King books came true.
Here, hold my beer.
Right? Uh-huh. The Stand, right? Oh, ETs. Yes. No one's blamed. We're not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. So I realized that all of the extra stuff around the outside edges of my page, all it really did was make it so that the pages are all going to have to be trimmed unilaterally and they're not going to be trimmed correctly. And so I messed up kind of my master document. So I'm going to have to go back through and redo it. So that's fine. I mean, it's not a horrible thing. It means that book one is not going to be easily editable. That's sort of an issue that, So I'm making a new master page that is exactly the right size so that it's not, as in, like, there's no need to trim these. All I do is just make a black or a white layer underneath the page and it automatically works to go to print. So had to fix that. Not ecstatic about it. I'll just wait until we are at a final alignment for the comics and like everything's been edited and everything's cleaned up and everything's straight and everybody's looked over all of the dialogue and made sure that everything makes sense and the story makes sense and nothing needs to be patched and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll go on ahead and roll it all together and then I'll just flatten all of the pages and then just copy the pages and paste them onto these new pages, which will be the right size. Because they should be roughly the right aspect ratio, so they should work just fine. But yeah, I took a break today because I kind of needed a mental break a little bit. So that was okay. We got there.
It feels nice to take a mental break.
Right.
Like, I recharged my gins, and when I came back to it, I was like, oh yeah. And this is a problem, and this is a problem, and
Right. And here's an error, and here's an error, and you get a car, and you get a car. Yeah. Move. That's what I wanted to do.
okay.
Which is all right because I mean, you know, it's okay. Yeah, it's good to step back every so often.
Yeah.
4252. Yeah, so far the only thing that's gotten me with this Moderna is that my arm is a little sore. That's it.
Yeah, but you're on day one,
You think it'll hit me tomorrow?
probably.
Okay. Huh? I'm prepped. Got nothing to do tomorrow except take the kiddo to his buddy's house to hang out with his friends. So, literally the only thing I have to do with tomorrow. $80 billion man coming to town tomorrow. Who's the $80 billion man? What am I missing? I must be missing somebody. Oh, Mr. Walton. Yeah.
Who's Mr. Walton?
Owns Walmart
Oh,
and now owns the Broncos too because, so now it's going to become
capitalism.
Walmart Field downtown. And my mom will continue to spin. I think I just need to hook up a generator to my mom's grave because at this point in time she's spinning enough that we could just generate some decent electricity.
Power is not what he craves, my friend. It's just a
Mhm.
means to his electro end.
Right. When they made Mile High Stadium into Invesco Field, I thought my mom was going to come unglued. Oh man, or whatever it was that we called it that first time, because they raised our taxes here so that we would pay for the stadium so it belonged to the people of Colorado so it could retain the name Mile High Stadium, and then it went into overruns. And once it went into overruns, they were like, "Well, we don't have any choice, so Invesco is gonna buy it." And so, sorry. And mom was like, "We voted, and she was so mad.
Yeah.
She was so mad, and she refused. To the day she died, she refused to call it anything other than Mile High Stadium. She refused, and actually, she wasn't alone. A couple of radio announcers wouldn't either, and they got fined for not calling it its proper name. They fined them. Ugh. Brutal. Proton humor.
Yeah, I'm still reeling about fast tracks here and up here.
And you're not getting it. We went through all of this, hemming and hawing, and you still won't get it. And that's because BNSF won't give right of way. That's annoying.
Well, that's also not the problem we're running into. Well, that's part of the problem, but they are taking taxes from the city of Longmont and making stations, light rail stations in Denver. And they specifically said we were going to make a light rail station for Longmont.
Right? That's not
and
cool.
and they never did, and it went all to pay for the light rail in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're starting to get pissed off and going, okay, what are you doing with our tax money?
Right.
Oh, well, we have to look into this. And now Longmont's threatening to turn off the tax money to it.
Right.
And they're like, well, let's not get too hasty.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want a train that runs from Cheyenne to Pueblo, and hopefully what we'll end up with that one will be high-speed rail. That's what I'm hoping for. That'll ultimately just run I-25. Leaves Cheyenne and goes all the way down to, wherever, Albuquerque or, maybe even Las Cruces. At the rate that this is going, a light rail to Las Cruces might be a kick button thing for us because my wife's sister lives in Las Cruces. So it'd be like, yeah, hop the high-speed train. Be there in a few hours.
Yeah. Why did I make such a big complex creature?
I was thinking that earlier when I was working on this page where they whistle general quarters. There's a scene in one of my favorite movies, and it's called Final Countdown. And it's about an aircraft carrier that goes through a time portal and ends up in December 7th or December 6th, 1941. And it's a 1981 Nimitz class aircraft carrier. And so there's this scene where they go through the warp, and they come out the other side, and everybody's like, you know, what in the world happened? And then the captain turns around and says, officer on the deck, sound general quarters. And he goes, aye, sir, sound general quarters. And then he, turns on the intercom and blows the boatswain whistle. And when he does, it cuts to different parts of the ship where everybody just looks up at the boatswain whistle, and then the alarms go, and everybody just moves, and they start locking down the hatches, and the Marines start grabbing guns and putting helmets on, and they're clearing the flight deck, and like all this stuff is happening, this action, this really cool scene of a Navy carrier going up to full battle readiness. And it's just such a neat thing that it left such an impression that I'm trying to do the same thing here with this scene, but then of course I end up with the boatswain whistle, and now I have to draw this room, and then this room, and then this room, and then this room. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself? What was I thinking? Because that's exactly what I had to do. It's like, now I gotta draw these damn rooms on the ship. What was I thinking?
Well, it's that one with the writer and the artist are at a convention, and the writer goes, yeah, it's great doing a webcomic because I can write a scene with 1,000 warships coming out of warp.
Right.
And the artist starts strangling him.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, but I love the cinematography of it, right? Because Donald's saying, yeah, any ship worth its salt, GQ, everybody is ready, right? But I love the way that it was done. It was like, they went through, and then the captain's like, what happened? I don't know. And then the captain's like, sound general quarters, and he just click, and then you hear, and then the alarms go bang, 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 like that. And it's like everybody just like, and they just start moving, and doors start closing, and like elevator doors start closing, and the elevators start coming down, and the aircraft are being secured and locked down. And it's just like, wow, it's just so cool. It's just like, that's efficiency, It's like, it was super efficient scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. Of course, the funny part is, if you watch it, and you know anything about Navy, you watch it and you're like, it's a drill. They're running a drill, because they're like timing it, and they captured the people going, okay, 30 seconds, guys, 35 seconds, 40 seconds. Come on, guys, sort of stuff, like you hear that kind of stuff going on. Oh man, like an agitated beehive. Sort of the feeling. 9 plus 3 seconds. No, we suck at this. It's still funny. It's still a good scene. It's still like one of my favorites. I love it. It's a good movie, man. I love that movie so much. My favorite movie. Well, maybe not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite movies. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have said it many a time. I feel like I have missed out. Because that was not something I did. And I wish I had. Oh, yeah. Anything about the Forrestal is still terrifying. Horribly terrifying. I don't even know those guys, man, on the Forrestal. Crash on Deck sucks so much. Mm-hmm. We learned a lot from the Forrestal. You're certainly no argument you're ever going to get from me on this.
So, are you looking forward to NDK?
A little and a little not. I don't know. Sort of. I don't know. Maybe. Sort of. I mean, it's going to be work. So, yeah, it's kind of. So there's kind of that. I don't know. That's a no. No Tinker Gnomes.
Tinker
Yeah.
Gnomes? Do I want to know?
I don't know. That's a thing.
Oh, that's too far forward.
Oh, Buck Rogers, he runs into a race that reminds him of that. Gotcha. Not Amidala, Adara. Amidala was Star Wars. I'm helping you. She was pretty hot, though. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. That's pretty good.
That's a solid page.
That's 2 pages done.
Last night. Oh, so how long you've been working? So you did 2 pages in an hour and a half, yeah?
Yeah.
You're still faster than me. Damn it. I'm at 2 pages in 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, I did 3 pages on Sunday. And yeah. So I'm getting through issue 4.
Yep.
So I've done all my pages for this week.
And it's Tuesday.
So I'm going to reward myself. On my one shot. This has also been helping. Is during that downtime, I have actually been working on another little comic strip. It's just a little 4-page thing for Hive for their summer mini comic. And they were like, pick a scene, pick something you've wanted to do that's a long form comic, and take the summer to draw it. And so I've been working on Revolver, which I've been wanting to do and bring back, which is
right.
my
You were starting that one before, yeah.
It's my furry western.
Do we call that a festern or a worry? Oh, I like
That,
worry.
yes. So I've been off and on working on this, and I'll tell you, it's been so nice to get back into this kind of work.
Agreed.
And I saw Denver happen, and I was like, God, I want to go back to Denver. And then all my COVID fears started to kick in, and it's like, God damn it.
Do you think there's anything that will override that ultimately? You think maybe?
Time,
I mean, yeah. Do you think that in time we can get you back onto your feet on that one?
probably time and healing. It's like large crowds are tough for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And particularly when you nearly died the first time around, it's
Right.
very hard to get back into it. And like I was watching the Twitter feed for Roland, or Randall, rather, who does Popeye. He was talking about, you know, he doesn't want to go to a convention in which they don't have a COVID protocol. But he has to go to conventions because they were most of his finances.
Right.
I was like, I feel for you. I really do.
Yeah. I agree to both of those. Yeah, right? I'm watching game stores die left and right too, which just makes me sad.
Yeah.
I think that's my pipe dream too. Loved it. Okay, this I believe is finally the correct page. So I found out that my pages were offset. Also, they were not quite aspect correctly. So they were only off by a little bit, but it was still a little bit. And that made me aggravated and annoyed. So
Makes sense.
I got aggravated and annoyed with it. And finally I said, that's it. We're fixing some things. The other things were like, I don't have the enlisted uniforms in here. I had the officer uniforms, but not the enlisted. So I kept making them different colors throughout the comic, and I'm like, this is driving me crazy. So stuff like that needed to be fixed. I also really need to just figure out stuff. What color is so and so's hair and what color is their skin? Because, like, for example, technically speaking, Alex is white and Chang is olive colored. So, she's got olive skin, sort of that yellowish olive Asian skin. Yeah. Technically, they're different, but for comic purposes, they end up just being white in black and white, right? Whereas Mayrel has a very chocolatey color, like a caramel. So she always has a darker skin color. Bennett's skin is also just white, So it's kind of like, right? He's talking about, gamer stores and stuff like that. How much they have to make coffee or food or something. The saddest part is there was a place here called Adventurers Quarter, and they had just gotten their liquor license to actually have like beer and stuff like that, and then they folded, and it was so sad. It worked for a long time to get to the point where they could have beer, and they folded, and it was just so sad. It was like the bestest place.
Oh, do you know the fighting game Guilty Gear?
Yes.
Did you hear what happened?
No. I'm
okay,
kind of worried.
You know the character Bridget?
Yes.
They made her officially transgender.
Huh. That's actually kind of cool.
She now identifies as her. So she is no longer a trapped character. She is officially now a transgender character. And I couldn't be more happy to hear that.
Neither can I. That's awesome. Good job. I had two transgender students in my last batch, and so when I start every class, I say, hey, put your name on these sheets of paper, because I'm horrible with names and I'll never remember it, and names are really a fault for me. And I said, and put preferred pronouns if that's a thing. And after the class was over, one of them said, you know what? Nobody's ever asked me that before. And they were him, they on the preferred pronouns, and their name was like, whatever. I can't remember. Female name number one, because I can't remember any names. Female name number one. And so I walked by at one point in time and I said, do you have a preferred name? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, put the preferred name on there. They're like, this is driving school. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not DMV. Put your preferred name on there. So afterwards, they wrote me this beautiful note about how they felt really comfortable, more comfortable in my classroom than any of the classrooms they're in at school. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of sad. I'm like, man, I don't care. I got better things to do in my life. I'm good. You just tell me what you want me to call you. I'm good. Look, I don't need to worry about this stuff. But it was very sweet. It was a I'm a good teacher moment. It's like, I'm a good teacher. So I was very proud of myself for that, even though I have to admit that I didn't think about it at all. But that's okay.
But the fact that you were like, hey, you know, do this, you reached out to them and said, hey, dude, put your pronouns on here. What you like?
Right? And
Hey, what's your preferred name?
right?
You know?
Yeah. The other one came in with a preferred name in front of their female name. And so that was easier because that was already written into the paperwork when I got it. But it was still, yeah, I mean, obviously, but clearly it was just nice. It was a nice thing, It was like, it was nice. That's all.
Not enough people care. And the fact that you took that time to show you care meant a lot to that student.
Sure. Oh, I mean, I don't mean to play down what I did. I know I was doing a good thing for the person. I just didn't think about it. It didn't occur to me that I was doing anything. You know what I mean? I don't know. And I guess that's what it should be in the world. It shouldn't be. People shouldn't have to think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's what your comic's kind of saying, too.
Yeah. That's in fact exactly what my comic is saying. I feel like Arbo shouldn't be light skinned. I have a lot of light skinned people. Let's drop Arbo's skin down a little bit. See you later, Donald.
Oh, is Donald heading out?
Good night, Donald. Take care, man. Better specs. I've decided all of these guys are going to have different colored skin. all of my chakrana, so that I can remember that everybody has different colored skin. Otherwise, we're like, I also, oh, you haven't been here since I finished class. I also had my first perfect class, as in all 10 of them passed the test on the first try.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep, that's a perfect score for me. Usually I'll get one or two that fail the first time and they have to retake. You can retake once that day. And then if you fail both of those times, you have to retake the next day. Then you can fail twice the next day. If you happen to fail all 4 times, then you have to go to the DMV. But this is the first time that I had no one fail on the first try. In fact, I was like sitting around going, nope, nobody failed, so I don't know what I'm going to do for my retake time. like I have this open space for retake time, and I don't know, man. We're good. So proud of them. They were such good kids. Good kids. I love my kids. I only get them for like 5 minutes, but I love those kids.
Those are the best kids ever.
Right? I get them for 4 days. But I mean, it's 4 intense 8-hour days. So I mean, like, I get to know these kids by the end of the week, because I'm stuck with them for 4 days. Good little fuzzy guys, though. I dug them. They were fine. Five minutes remain. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get back to these two panels right here. And then I'll finally be out of this page of doom. Once that page is done, though, we will be down to only the red areas here on the comic. So that back page, which won't be that hard, this graphic design thing. One panel on 32, one panel on 33, 29, 27. All of page 19 is a splash, though. And that'll be it. And we'll be buttoned up. And then it's final check time.
Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8.
I have a lot more going back over it too than you do, which may not be a good thing. I
I
say
have
that.
15. I have 15 pages to go for volume 4.
Yeah. I feel like you will finish volume 4 about the same time I finish issue 1. Because I have faith that you can push through those 15 pages at about the same speed. I'm going to chug out these last 4 panels and then torture myself over page 19 splash.
Don't torture yourself over it.
I seem to have issues with splash pages. I feel like one of the other problems I might run into, and I probably should think about this, is what color uniforms everybody is. I feel like I'll
Yeah.
get confused. So maybe I should make a grid. My wife has returned. Preferably with the woolly mammoth. Or something.
Okay.
You'll never know. But it's midnight. Will you be joining me in the AM?
Probably not in the AM because I got things going on tomorrow.
That's fine.
But definitely
in the
PM
PM.
I will do.
And we will see whether your prediction is true or not. Will I be zonked tomorrow?
So yesterday I was actually planning on being here, and then my RPG ran long, and then I got back to the house and I got into a big discussion about news, and by the time I got out it was like midnight, and I'm like, well, best laid plans.
Right. Alrighty. Well, I say good night to you. And I'll
Good
see
night,
you.
sir.
I like that dress. This is a good dress. I like that it's longer in the back. It swirls very nice. We have a swirly dress.
You can't see it.
There we go.
Swirly dress. Hard to see. It's sort of swirly there. Yeah. Okay. All right. I will see you then tomorrow night.
All right. See you tomorrow night.
Bye.
Bye.